Anybody got anything they want to add? Anything you want to end on? Any magic? Some wisdom you'd like to part with?
I would just anybody that does watch this. I mean, the shenanigans and the shit that we say, but the biggest thing that I would want to add out there is stop being so fucking soft, man.
Yeah.
Like, look at the truth behind things. Don't look at the agenda that's trying to be pushed upon somebody else. Like, stop and think about the reasoning behind something, the actual truth behind it. That's the only thing that I would say. Like, call things for what they really are. Don't get mad about it. Don't get mad at the disagreement. Don't get mad at the hurt feelings. Stop, bring it to the lowest level, and figure out what the actual truth is behind whatever the case may be.
I said something about something like that to somebody not too long ago, but talking about people being offended as a believer in anything, I should want to be challenged.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
ridiculed, but challenged, because the old adage of, iron sharpens iron. How good do you think you are at anything if you've never been challenged intellectually, emotionally? So my beliefs are my beliefs. They're predicated on my experience in life, how I interpret things, my understanding of the world, my education, my studies. All of these things impart on me who I am, not just biology. Yours are yours. You have a different lens to view the world through. You may have read some things that I haven't read. Exchanging ideas, that should be something we want. We should want, if I'm a Republican, I need Democrats. They're inherent to my survival, my identity.
Yes.
I cannot be a Republican if I don't have a challenged viewpoint. And so I want to hear what they have to say, because that challenges me to keep thinking and to keep practicing, to keep evolving as a human being. So
Well, and to see if your values stand up.
yeah, resistance
Yes.
is not just about that. It's a test also, but we should want that resistance. We should want that exchange. We should long for it. You know what I mean? That should be
We
something
need
we
friction.
strive for. Having a
We
Did you
have to.
guys
rational discussion about something just going to make us better people.
Yep.
did you guys ever know K2 or work with him?
I
Yeah,
know the
he was
name.
both on Blackwater and on SOC. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you were there in '06 then with when yeah. So I knew and worked with him from '04 when we stood up Hilla, and then went over to IRI there in Baghdad with him. And then he had just left Baghdad, and that's when he went over to SOC or
Yeah.
Falcon, or yeah, he went somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he was up at Daytona when they got hit. I want to
Yeah,
say.
it was like right outside of that range that was close to Solder City, I think.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but he used to always have a saying was, the day you think you're the smartest man or, the best in the room is the day you need to hang up your hat and go home, because there's always something to learn from anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
Set your anger aside, listen, think about it. Like you said, digest it. Hell, half the time you'll find out you're more or less angry just internally than at whatever it is you think you're angry at.
Yeah.
I like what
Jordan. Go ahead.
I like what Jordan Peterson says about being a man of virtue. You can't be virtuous if you don't have the capacity for violence, and it doesn't mean you need to be violent. You just have to have the capacity for it to find out if you're truly virtuous. Because if you're a nonviolent man and don't have the capacity for it, then your virtue is really rooted in survival, and it's not true virtue anymore. And all these people out there with these hurt feelings, like virtue signaling and shit, it's all weakness. It's really rooted in weakness. And so these people don't understand any real friction or strife in life, because they keep trying to think that you can somehow come up with rules that will prevent people from being mean or offensive.
Yeah, people are gonna be people. You can't get mad at a wolf for being a fucking wolf. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of them didn't grow up with any stripes. Now they're trying to create some.
And that goes back to what we were talking about the other day, Dale, with the soft men, hard time thing.
Oh yeah.
I had this conversation with somebody yesterday about that very topic. soft times creating, hard times and all. I don't remember how the fuck it went. I can't remember, but I had that conversation yesterday with somebody and I said, what's funny is I've done it in my own life because I grew up shit. I was in an orphanage at 6, you know what I mean, tossed around the system my entire life. But now I've gotten to a place financially where I'm able to provide for my children in a capacity that I never thought I could. And so I've made their life so comfortable now that I'm afraid that I may have started that process without
Yeah.
intentionally doing it. You know what I mean?
That's
They don't
yes.
have to fight for food and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of that, but I don't think it happens as much on the smaller scale as it does on the grander scale, is the
I agree, but
intent
I'm
behind
just
it.
talking about the idea itself. You know what I mean? Like I
Well, the
understand
biggest,
why it occurs because for me, it was an effort to create a better environment for my children, and I made that world a little bit softer, so they didn't have to struggle
Yep.
and create.
yeah,
Sure.
You know what I mean? And
but
and
you
I
raise
don't
your
think that
children
I
and
don't
don't
think that,
rely on the school system to do it though.
right.
So
Yeah.
there's a difference in that.
No, I agree. I'm just saying the
Yeah,
idea
but
of it's easy to understand to me because of that.
I think the same thoughts that Loon has, because we grew up in very similar backgrounds. And everything I've done I can honestly say I've done on my own. I've gotten where I am today, you know, and my sons, I tell my sons and, anybody I talk to about them that my sons are my greatest investments in life. They're my greatest gifts in life as well. But going back to that same question I guess it comes down to being a dad. Where's that fine line of being too hard or too soft?
I don't know.
Will my sons know? Will my sons know when it's time that they need to be hard? Or because of the way they've been raised, will they cower down and become soft?
Well, I think a lot of that just kind of boils down to, even a lower denominator of have they been taught right and wrong, morally. And if they do, then odds are they're going to stand up, when the time comes, if they're faced with that.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you
I
guys aren't giving credit to is that all of us teach our kids that there are things worth fighting for. So if you don't show them what, like the good stuff in life, that you're worried about making them soft, it's like, well, that's creating a value of what to fight for. And the hardness comes in the perspective you give them. You like, my daughters are fully aware of what I did for a living. They remember all the Skype calls every day that I could, and they've heard stories about the different explosions, the mortar attacks, and and so on and so forth. So they see that, and they understand that they don't have to experience it necessarily to gather what it means to have a hard time and have something worth fighting for. And I think you guys have done it very subtly, so subtly maybe that
Well,
you didn't realize you were doing it, and you're afraid that you didn't pass that on.
I'm not afraid that I didn't pass it on to my kids, but I guess to expand on what I was trying to say earlier, because I guess it didn't come quite across right. I know that my kids appreciate everything I've done for them. What I'm
Was
saying,
it just a step
basically,
up?
yeah, I've changed the history of my entire family. No one ever
Mhm.
went to school. No one ever made, you know what I mean? Like, no one ever
Yep.
bought a house. No one ever did. And because of that, their life is made easier. Now,
Mhm.
what's going to happen 2, 3 more generations down the road? Are they
Right.
going to remember that salty old bastard that clawed and fought and did the shit I did? Or are they just going to be like, in 100 years, is my family going to be these soft ass people, like worried about the pandas and
Yeah.
shit, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've changed that history and made it easier for them, is it going to continue down that same path? You know what I mean? At what point does my soft times become their hard times again? You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's
Yeah. But I
inevitable.
also think
That may
I've
be
thought
a
about
little
that
too
too.
soon.
I've thought about that too, but one of the things that I've also brought into account is the fact that, generationally speaking, when was the last time that we had a war like what all of us went through? I mean, the last one was World War II. Yeah, there was Vietnam. Vietnam was there, but Vietnam was relatively short compared to the year after year after year of all of us continuing to return back to that environment that we went to. And whenever you don't have that, like none of these generations now, like even the privates coming into the military and the sergeants that are now out there supposed to be in charge of these privates, most of these sergeants haven't even spent time in a combat zone.
No.
So I think that's one of the
Most of the ones
things
that
that,
saw combat left.
yeah, they're done,
Well, that's why we wound up with that major.
So yeah.
All right, I got to get done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how this one turned out. I don't know. I felt like
Yeah,
we
I guess,
Hey, I had a question real quick. I got a
Mm.
question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something about you coming from an orphanage when you were younger. Was that they had a different name for zoo?
You know, I'm secure enough in my masculinity to accept that as a compliment.
Well, given that I've seen gorillas more civilized than you, John, I would say, yeah, that
Yeah,
should be a compliment.
maybe. I wouldn't say I'm not civilized. I have a very low tolerance for stupid shit, and my response may be a tad disproportionate. I'm going to leave it at that because that sounds really scientific. I told someone the other day, I said, I remember my wife and I think we're talking about this. And I said, I remember being a kid, being afraid, being picked on, being bullied, poor, just, no family, no Christmases, just, I was that kid wearing hand-me-down shit from the dollar store and plastic shoes and, welfare and just dirt poor and just picked on, no male role models, no nothing. And then I got to about, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, and I found martial arts. I started doing that, and then I started lifting weights. And so I may have slightly overcompensated. I may have overcorrected just a little bit too much, but I don't think I'm uncivilized. Now I'm offended.
Sorry, John, it's situational.
All right, boys.
I think they just focus on our past drinking selves too much. We're somewhat civilized.
And we're different people than we were back then too, bud. I've been cultured since. I've watched I don't know how many episodes of Pawn Stars. I mean,
wow.
Ask me anything. Ask me anything, literally.
I now know that charcuterie is just basically an adult lunchable. So look at me.
Yeah, and I stream HGTV too much, so there's
I've
my
never even heard
culture.
it.
I'll tell you how trashy
we're gonna
I
go
am. My
have
charcuterie board is usually a paper plate.
Yeah, mine too.
But with the big pinky up,
some
right?
pepperoni on one side, some cheese on the other side, dump some fucking olives in the middle.
Oh, you fancy. Mine comes in the can. I gotta squirt the cheese out.
You nasty, filthy animal. Bad
Well,
out.
Guess,
do we want to leave him with the cliffhanger?
I don't know. What's the cliffhanger?
So the other day I was making out with this guy, right?
And there it is.
Finish that one the next time. Actually, you know what?
Can, so it's April, so we can leave him with a story of Derek in Baghdad. The true story of what really happened during that time.
I don't know if the world's ready for true stories.
Yeah.
Get after it. That's all I can say. Get after
it. We got to slow roll that bright light.
The bright one, save it. Yeah, we'll save that one. We'll put that one off for another day.
Yeah.
There was the story of a short little fellow named Peanut that decided on the way home one night he was going to borrow a local Iraqi's donkey and ride it home.
Was
I
that
mean, at the
the
time,
one where he's
logic
wearing the
was
sock?
probably infallible. Given the amount of chemical mediators on board, it probably was an infallible argument at that point. It made perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah. The argument that ensued at the gate as to why he couldn't bring in his combat donkey.
It's called field expedient transport, fucker.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
I don't know. We'll come
we'll-
up with something.
But sir, it is a donkey.
Yeah,
More
the
donkeys
Peruvians were
allowed.
not having it.
We brought a fucked up SUV in the ECP one night.
You talking about the one that
Yeah, the one me and Jay
Jason
borrowed
wrecked?
for our
Yeah.
chemical run.
Yeah, I remember hearing
Came
about
through
that.
the ECP and this fucking fully up armored sub just just limping through the fucking gate, smoking like shit. It was fucking.
Oh,
rude.
remind me to tell you about the story about Jason actually confessing to me about a wrecked vehicle. I'll leave that one on the
I'll
on
tell
next
you
time.
what, the wrecked vehicle. We'll start with that one.
Wrecked vehicle.
There you go.
Y'all have a good night, boys. Talk soon.
You too.
Sounds good.
Talk to you guys later.
License and registration? Chicken fucker?